Okay, today we have Jay Baer with us. Hey, Jay.
What is going on, my man?
How you
Great to
doing?
see you as always. Fantastic.
Great to see you. So, a little bit about Jay before we get into our conversation. One, he has just written the most incredible book, Hug Your Haters. And Jay is a digital business expert, global keynote speaker, and New York Times bestselling author of Utility. And he has advised some of the most iconic brands and organizations in the world, including Nike, Best Buy, and the United Nations. And he is now a certified speaking professional. And if you don't know anything about that, that is an incredibly difficult designation to get. So, congrats, Jay.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's been a long, hard road, but I'm glad to have that designation and glad to have more books on the way and out and all that. You know, you just got to keep plugging away.
Exactly. And Jay produces some of the best content out there. He's got Convince and Convert Media, which is produces the world's #1 content marketing blog, multiple award-winning podcasts, and if you ever get a chance to see Jay speak live, do so.
Let's
So,
do that. Yeah, please
yes.
do. Come say hi.
All right. So you recently released Hug Your Haters, and I have to tell you, and I'm really not blowing smoke. I mean this. I'm in customer service, customer experience. It may be the most important book on social customer service yet. It
Thank you.
really, I learned a lot, and it really filled a lot of gaps for me because I've always felt like that was an area where I wasn't as complete on customer experience and customer service. And one
Well, I
thing
appreciate that very much. Yeah, it was. You know, look, people on this show know it, but look, customer service is being disrupted in the same way that marketing has been disrupted. It's the same story, right? It's millennial, it's social, it's mobile, it's all those kind of things. But we talk a ton about marketing disruption. In fact, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of books about marketing disruption, including four by me. But there's very few books about customer service disruption. There's lots of books about sort of customer service principles and some great ones, including yours. But there aren't that many books about customer service disruption. And so I'm like, you know what? That's the story that we need to tell because a lot of people are still using a 1995 customer service playbook to solve 2016 customer service problems, and it's not going to work anymore.
absolutely, and that was what I really liked because Hug Your Haters applies to organizations of all sizes. And so much of what has been the discussion about disruption, and you're right, there hasn't been a lot of it, but the little bit there has been, it's always about the big brands. It's always about
Yeah.
large companies, large brands, large footprints. How do they do it? How do they set up their war room to handle
Right.
social customer service?
Yeah.
So, what I'd like to talk to you about is how do you apply these principles to small and medium sized businesses?
Yeah.
And let's start with how important is social customer service to SMBs?
Well, it's incredibly important. It's going to vary a little bit based on the type of business, but let's realize it wasn't that long ago that essentially all customer service was done in private, right? Whether it was face to face, telephone, or email, or even a postal letter, all customer service interactions were done in private. Now, an increasing share of those interactions are playing out in public. That's why I always say in the book that customer service is now a spectator sport. And so now you've got customers trying to reach businesses in social media, of course, on review sites, so Yelp and TripAdvisor or whatever is the important review site in your category, and then on discussion boards and forums. And that percentage of people who complain in private versus the percentage of people who complain in public is changing very, very rapidly because it's much easier to complain with one hand on this than it is to complain two hands on a keyboard or waiting on hold. And obviously, consumers are figuring that out. So we are entering an era where the preponderance of customer interactions are going to be in public. And that is a huge issue for businesses, especially small businesses, because you may not like that customer. You may think that customer is a liar. You may not have time to answer them. But tens or hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of people are going to see how you handle that customer on Facebook, on Twitter, on Yelp, etc.
And I work with a lot of small business owners, and I come from a small business background, and I think there's a lot of tendency to take the public display personally. In other words, to say,
Of course.
you could have come to me first. Just, I
Yes.
didn't know, you could have come to me. How should small business owners sort of view that differently, other than don't take it personally, which is basic customer service?
It's a natural reaction, especially for small businesses, because when somebody complains about your small business, they're essentially telling you that your baby is ugly. And nobody likes that, right? I mean, in fact, one of my favorite parts of the book is we actually interviewed some psychiatrists and said, "Hey, what happens when you confront negativity?" And they're like, "Well, your whole brain chemistry changes, and your heart rate goes up, and your temperature goes up, and all these things," which is not the perfect physiological state to be answering customer complaints in, obviously. But the reality is that yeah, your belief is that they should have come to you first before they made it public. But what people don't understand is that technology and mobile and social media has made everybody passive aggressive. The fact that they made it public isn't some sort of a slam on you. It's that it's more convenient for them to do it here than it is to go find you or call you or write you. It's just less time for them. And so we have to stop thinking about customer service through the lens of what's easier for us and start understanding that it's about what's easier for them. And confronting you face to face or confronting you via phone is not easier for them. If there's one thing that all of this has done, is it's made it really easy for us to avoid conflict. I wrote a blog post the other day about this. There's a hotel I stayed at in Nashville, and the GM had a letter on the bed. Hey, thanks very much for coming to the Sheraton. If you have any problems at all, here's my personal cell phone number. And I'm like, okay, this guy has it half right. It's amazing that he's given me his personal cell phone number, but nobody is going to call that number unless the room is like beyond terrible. There's no chance anybody's going to call that number. And I want to call him and see if anybody calls the number. I didn't do that, but I should. Because it's disproportionate to the scenario, right? It's a pain in my ass for me to have to call that guy and say, oh, the bed wasn't made, right? It's not, but I will gladly text message him. I will gladly hit them on Twitter. I will gladly send them an email where my personal commitment, my personal need to sort of be in a conflict situation is way different. And so that's where people miss the boat. They think that, well, why didn't you come to me? I'm like, because I don't want to be in a conflict situation and it's a hassle.
Right, and that's I always wonder about those phone numbers, and I do think that they're just you're not going to call for the people.
No.
The people that are going to call are going to be either just riled up or the 1% that are just a little out there to begin with. And I completely agree. And it's funny. It's almost like the perfect market, the efficient market hypothesis, which is we wish everybody went to the channel that was best for their but they don't.
Well, and we have to understand, I talk about this a lot in the book, that it doesn't matter what form the feedback takes. The fact that they're providing feedback is extraordinarily important and extraordinarily rare. Like the research shows, and you know this as well as anybody, Adam, that only 5% of unhappy customers complain. 5%. Which means that 95% of the unhappy customers just leave and never come back. So if you can take that 5%, and by making it really easy to provide feedback, by encouraging feedback in whatever channel the customer prefers, whether that's Yelp, Facebook, TripAdvisor, Skywriting, Smoke Signal, doesn't matter. Let them pick. If you can take that 5% to 15%, the amount of insights that you can glean from that, the amount of things that you can then use to make your business better is extraordinary. What I always tell people is if you want to get fewer complaints, you first have to get more complaints.
Great wisdom. And I think we both actually have referred to that book, A Complaint is a Gift, because it is.
It's amazing. It's a great book.
It truly is. So, all right, I'm a small business owner. I read Hug Your Haters. I listen to this message and I go, this is wonderful, Jay. I don't have enough staff. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. What do I do?
Well, the first thing I tell you is that you do have the time, staff, and money. It's not about whether you have it, it's how you're prioritizing, right? And if you look at the numbers worldwide, I think it shows what I mean here. Across the whole world, all businesses globally, we spend each year about $500 billion a year in marketing. And we spend $9 billion a year on customer service.
Wow.
Now that probably doesn't make a lot of sense, right? When you understand how important customer retention is. So when somebody says, we don't have time and money, I say, well, why don't you take a little bit of money out of your marketing budget and put it into customer service so that your marketing department doesn't have to work so hard to replace all the customers that you're losing out the back end because you're not good at customer service. And I say that as a marketing consultant. Like my business is in marketing consulting. And what I'm telling you, small business owners, is to spend less on marketing and more on customer service. I want you to take money away from me and give it to Adam so that you can actually solve this problem. So that's part of it. The other thing is
drop the mic on that one. I think we can just leave it there.
Yes,
just take money from Jay, give it to Adam.
That's right.
We're good.
That'll be the beginning of the show. The other thing, of course, is to just make somebody accountable for it, right? And I'm not saying you have to have a full-time person because you don't, but it's more of a process issue. Like, okay, here's the thing. Every day, somebody needs to check on Yelp and Facebook and TripAdvisor and Twitter and all the places that somebody could potentially contact us. That just needs to be somebody's job. right? In the same way, it's somebody's job to take out the trash, and it's somebody's job to clean the bathroom, and it's somebody's job to order copy paper, and it's somebody's job to do everything. Just make it somebody's job, right? People think about customer service as like if it's like this enormous, set of requirements. Just make it somebody's job. Break it down into its component parts, which is, okay, who's going to check Facebook first thing in the morning? Raise your hand. Right? Okay, now you've got part of it done, right? So quit thinking about it in the totality of it and break it down into individual minor job functions, and it gets way easier to figure out how you're going to resource it.
Right. And, when you get past that transition, I mean, every study I've ever seen always shows the numbers are different depending on the industry or the company. A dollar spent on retention is worth, many, many dollars in acquisition.
Yeah, many.
Yeah. So to your point, so you're a small business owner. There's an inertia factor. There is, okay, I read Hug Your Haters. I am born again social. I am going to do this. I go to Yelp. I go to Google, and there's 30 reviews I haven't responded to in 5 years.
Yeah.
What do I do?
Go respond to those reviews. So even if it's been a while, here's how you write it. You say, I'm terribly sorry for your experience with us. Obviously, we were not 100% perfect on the day that you visited us. Clearly, it's been quite a while since you were here. We recently have begun to answer reviews in this forum. We didn't historically. I know it's a long shot that you'll actually see this because it's been so long, but if by chance you do, we'd sure love it if you would give us another chance. I'd love to talk to you about your experiences personally. Here's my phone number, my email address, and just leave it right there. Now, are you going to hear back from that person? Probably not. But remember, customer service is a spectator sport. Everybody who comes back to see that review later is going to be like, oh, look, they actually answered. Look, these guys actually care about their customers. It changes the way people think about your business because there is no atomic half-life on ratings and reviews in particular, right? A Yelp review, a TripAdvisor review, a Google review, any of those kind of things, man, people can see that years and years down the road, and you do not want to let that negativity fester without a reply.
Excellent. Okay, well, I think we're going to start wrapping up, so I will ask you, is there any other principles, ideas, concepts from Hug Your Haters that you think would be particularly resonant with small business owners?
Well, there's about 1,000 of them, but the one I will tell you...
Get the book, so that's the first message.
The one I will tell you in particular for small business is to obey my rule of reply only twice. And my rule of reply only twice says that you never, ever, ever, ever reply to a customer more than twice in public, social media, review sites, etc. Because it's either a waste of time and resources, or you run the risk of getting caught up in sort of a negative tit-for-tat sort of shame spiral, which is very counterproductive. So if somebody complains, you apologize. They complain again, you say, hey, I'd like to talk to you about it in more in-depth, maybe phone or email. If they complain a third time, you just walk away. Because you've given that person two chances to engage in a dialogue. They don't want to do it, and just let them go at that point. You don't have to answer every single one every single time. Just make a good faith effort and then move on.
Wonderful. Well, very sound advice, Jay. We really appreciate your time. Please tell us where people can find you on the internet, though I know that is a loaded question.
You can find the book at hugyourhaters.com. Obviously, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all that kind of stuff. There's an audio version as well, Kindle, of course, etc. Every book includes a poster. It looks like this, called The Hatrix, which is analysis of who complains and where they complain, all the key data from the book. You can find me at jbaer.com or all the social platforms, jbaer.
All right. Well, appreciate it, Jay. Thank you so much. This has been awesome.
My pleasure. Thank you.